So this is Fourth Down Magic, okay? And we're being sponsored by 2040 Sports. And so I'm Brian Vick, it's Christopher Williams, Kevin Lenahan, and we're gonna take a shot at talking some football here. So if you know anything about it, you'll know that there's not too much to talk about right now. However, there really always is something. And so I guess, what would you do, Kevin, if like you're looking at your team? What do you want from like right now at this point in the season? Just health, just like no drama. Like what do you think is the goal? Are you still looking for free agents? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, actually, as far as like, first of all, a lot of people are complaining about the preseason and getting rid of preseason. I love the preseason in the NFL. I always have loved the preseason. I loved it for the home team and for any teams I'm following because it's a great time to go out and watch in the second half and look at those guys that are trying to make the team that might be future superstars. I just love watching that. So when this time of season, I read the reports very closely that we don't get to see their mini camps, but the reports come out and you'll often get a really good sense of who is that surprise guy, like say Butler from the Patriots a few years ago, who was an undrafted rookie. And the word out of the camp was this guy is sticking to receivers like glue. And so I love that, and I can't wait for the preseason to start so I can start watching that. I've been to camp. It's awesome to go to training camp. If you can get there, I recommend it. So I don't know if that fully answers the question, but I can't wait for the season to get started.
Chris, you have similar thoughts on that, I think.
I've always been pro preseason.
All right.
Think about scouting. What better scouting situation we can actually see players, these low-level players, actually perform on the field.
Right.
In a football situation.
Yeah.
And everybody can see them because they're all on television. I don't never see anything wrong with football, with preseason. Especially that the starters really shouldn't be playing that much anyway. I like the fact you play them first half of the third game.
Yeah.
That's like the most they're really going to play. And that's probably much most they need to play. But to me, they also need to play. I remember playing in high school, we had maybe 1-2 scrimmages. It wasn't enough, especially for a scrub like me. I need more opportunity to get in there, mix things up so I'm more comfortable going into this work setting. And it also helps not put terrible, crappy, awful football on the field for week 1, week 2, which is what we've been getting for the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look, and also just to quickly add on that, think about your whole roster, right? The preseason to me is always something that I don't care if you're the defending Super Bowl champs. If you're the Bucks, even right now, you know the Bucks roster is stacked. But don't tell me there's not maybe 3 or 4 spots on that roster that if some young guy, some rookie free agent or someone shows such tenacity and such desire in that preseason, I might say, you know what? Sorry to the veteran, we're going to keep the young guy. I think every year your team should maybe try to evolve like that.
You always want to build for the future. I always been a fan of expanding NFL rosters. It took a pandemic for them to actually do it. But it also depends on the team and the team dynamics. The oldest guy on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Tom Brady at the quarterback position. They're young almost throughout the entire roster. So,
yeah, I guess.
For the Buccaneers.
Yeah, look, this is maybe not 3 or 4, but don't tell me there's not 1 or 2 positions. Again, I'm saying, even if it's just like a special teams guy, I just think it's always good injecting some youth. What do you think about that, Kevin?
No question about that, but I thought you mean like a starter, like.
No. Again, I'm saying you're looking at a 53-man roster, right? So I'm saying 50 of those guys are solid gold set, right? That bottom 3, I'm like, can we always improve that a little bit?
Yeah, and you're looking at this time of season, and when you're looking at these preseason games, you're not only looking for the young players that can rise, but you're really looking for the kind of chemistry that is coming together on the field. And as someone who's followed the Patriots all the way back to the 70s and the 80s when they stunk, but one of the things that's really has epitomized this team over the last 20 years is how you watch the growth from the first preseason game and you see this incremental growth all the way up until November. And it's only in late November that you finally see what they're going to become. It's all being built layer by layer by layer, but you can see those early layers going in the preseason. And it's if you like football, and I know you guys do, it's exciting to watch. You know, it really is. And that's why Brady's so good, because he patiently buys into that whole system of patiently building it for everybody involved. And that's why he's the best quarterback in the league, not because of the other things, but just because he buys into it and he's intelligent and he's building that team right towards the end.
He understands the journey. He understands it's. I mean, I can't help but think it's a race. It is a race. It's a long race. And Belichick is the type that he always knows just where to get that horse in the right position to make it run. Where we're going to be peaking when we absolutely need to. And it's a skill that certain coaches burn out too quick. They start out hot and fade late. And that is the kind of style you need to, I mean, it's a tough adjustment. How do you, if you're, like you're saying, Belichick has such a perfect touch with that, and others through the years, but definitely him. What do you think of a coach that, that might even be on the hot seat right now, that needs to get out to a hot start? I will just throw one out there to get the ball rolling. I think Cliff Kingsbury of Arizona is under a lot of pressure. I think it's his third year now. They've got a pretty stacked roster. They have a lot of young guys, but they've got some veterans now with the J.J. Watts and the A.J. Greens. These guys are coming there to get a ring. That's why they're going there. And, well, maybe because it's cheap, fun living in Phoenix, for all I know. But Glendale. So anyway, again, you got a lot of talent there with the Cardinals. Kingsbury's still a young coach anyway. A lot of pressure on him. Those Cardinals start out like 0-3, 1-4. They're going to be calling for that guy's head.
Did the Jets have a head coach this year? He's always in a hot seat, whoever he is. Every year.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But that question, is the measure of success for a coaching job a Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Really?
What do you think? I don't know.
I don't think so. You telling me Kyler Murray's supposed to be in the Super Bowl this year? You telling me that it's disappointing if he does it? Now the playoffs, different story.
Absolute playoffs.
But getting to the actual Super Bowl this is a different sport we're talking about here. I mean, I wish him luck. It's possible. It does happen, but it really doesn't happen a lot. Veteran quarterbacks usually have more success to get deeper into the playoffs. And maybe you can say the same about veteran coaches. And Cliff Kingsbury's been getting it done coaching for a while. I'm not going to go as far and call that guy a seasoned veteran because he really has to crawl before he can walk. Look at Cliff Kingsbury's career. It's mostly a losing record in college. And now he's getting better in the pros. But I don't fire him. Maybe if they don't make the playoffs, I'm considering a change.
If the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, Kingsbury is fired. Guaranteed.
I don't know about guaranteed, but that's definitely going to be a question the ownership is going to talk about. But that's also if the ownership didn't know what they were hiring when they hired him. Because they were hiring a below 500 guy, or at least at 500 guy.
Also, Kevin, what do you think about the idea that, like, some organizations that, like, bottom out, they might literally hire a coach to coach up those young guys, get some young talent, and then when they're ready to win, they're like, yeah, sorry, we're going to fire you, and we're going to go with the more experienced guy who knows how to win.
I'll tell you what kind of programs those are, losing ones. Yeah. That can work in some sports. I think that can work in the NBA, for instance. So you might bring in a Brett Brown to coach the Sixers up to a certain point while they're tanking and maybe while Embiid and Simmons are young. But then you got to, not that it worked out well, but you got to bring in a Doc Rivers to try to get him to the mountaintop. But in the NFL, you have to create this team
culture.
The culture, exactly. The Patriots call it the Patriot way there. But you can never stop building that. And the team that has more of that than any team, maybe in sports, but certainly in the NFL, is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And
I'm not a Steelers fan, but they very seldom have losing seasons. And I don't think the coach of the Steelers seems to really know much a lot of times about football sometimes, or about the X and O's. I mean, he makes a lot of, but he's got that team winning all the time. And so I think, you know, it's a great organization. They're not overpaying players, but they establish that culture on the field, like you said. And so you can't really, it's too risky to say we're going to just put in a bad coach to manage a team and develop young players. No, you want someone that's establishing that culture all the time. Or if you have that culture, maintaining it. You're a good organization like that.
You're absolutely right. There are no wartime consiglieres. No. In the NBA, only to certain extents, yeah, the idea seems sound. It's worked sometime, but it doesn't work all the time. It's why only like 3-4 guys have gotten multiple rings in the NBA in the first place.
Yep.
Championships are hard to win in every sport.
Yeah. Right.
And then you're dealing with an army, 53 guys in comparison to almost every sport out there in the world. It's an army of people you have to manage personalities with.
It's unforgiving. Look at that division, actually, the more that I think about it. The Cardinals are going to beat out Seattle and the Rams and the Niners.
See my point? You see my point on that? No, make the playoffs. That has got to be the best division in football, the NFC West. On paper.
On paper, yeah. But you could say, yeah, on paper, regardless. The NFC West is a division you don't want to play that division if you can help it. That's what I would say. Whatever.
I think as long as when you're a coach, it's not just about whether you made the playoffs or made the Super Bowl, but as long as you have a sense within the organization, within the team, that you're heading in the right direction and you have that momentum. But as soon as you lose that, you do have to sometimes. So a good example would be, say, Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Now, I always thought Andy Reid was a brilliant coach, and I never really understood why they fired him. And you know, my relatives are from Philadelphia, and they couldn't stand him for all that. But so maybe it had just gotten to a point where it was time for a change. You know, I don't know. Obviously, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. But maybe he had lost him a little bit after getting to the NFC Championship multiple times in a row and to the Super Bowl once and not bringing it home.
Change is necessary.
Yeah.
You know, but
or never being satisfied is necessary, because it's funny, Kevin, how almost in the same stroke you bring up Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, either side of the state of Pennsylvania, who handles things completely different than one another. That one organization has 3 coaches. Then there's Philadelphia, who will hate you just for losing in the NFC Championship.
I know. How dare you? Crazy.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you get there and lose in the NFC Championship like a couple of times? You are terrible. Oh, wait, no, but then there are other people out there like Cleveland fans and Lions fans. Right. Shut up, Philip.
Philadelphia, it does not take much for them to complain about something.
Not much.
Philly fans are the worst, I think.
But listen, you know what, though? One thing that I can almost guarantee, believe it or not, about Philly, they would all be in favor of those Kelly green and like silver throwback uniforms. Those ones from like the 80s, like the Reggie White Eagles. Those were slick looking uniforms, man. Those way better than their current stuff they've had for 20 years probably now.
They had some good teams in the 70s. You know, what was that? Harold Carmichael and some of those guys too.
Right.
Yeah, they had some good teams.
Those were some classic look to those. I think that would be great if they brought those back.
I agree.
You missed your calling, Vic. It should have been fashion apparel for you.
Hey, listen, you know what? Like the great horse trainer D. Wayne Lucas said too, you got to look the part. So,
do you?
When my guys remember out there.
No, I disagree. The Lions got scrubbed by the Eagles wearing the worst uniforms I ever saw them wear. So no, you don't have to look the part.
I get it. And they won the Super Bowl wearing the worst uniforms.
Yeah, so no.
But they're not the worst ever. But you know.
Hey,
the
I'm sorry.
Last year,
beauty's in the eye of the beholder. This beholder says worst ever.
So how about actually Lions throwback to those Honolulu Blue classics like Barry Sanders days? Those would be all right.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'll tell you what the best uniform is in all of sports. It's a throwback uniform, and it's the current uniform, and it's a great segue here for me to bring up something I want to. The New York Yankees.
Best uniform, huh?
It's a good, because of the tradition that goes with it. And kind of happy about the Yankees right now. They're one of my favorite teams in baseball, I'd have to say.
I would imagine such. And it's funny. Those pesky Royals came to Yankee Stadium about 2 weeks ago, and they won the first game, and they fought hard in like the second and third game, but we beat them the second two. And I happened to notice the Boston Red Sox playing those Kansas City Royals in Fenway. And the first game, sure enough, Royals were all over them.
Yep.
Red Sox came back and won.
Yep.
Second game, Royals were up all over them, killing them. They were up like 6-1. Next thing I looked, 7-6 Boston. I'm like,
Yep.
You got to be kidding me. And then today, I saw you guys just blew them out.
The Royals aren't any good, Brian. I don't know if you know this.
No, they're not. But what I'm saying, and I'm giving Kevin credit for his damn Red Sox.
For beating a bad team? Okay.
But the fact that the Red Sox have this ability to come from behind, that is the thing. It doesn't matter who they're playing. When they're down, they're going to keep coming back. And that is a quality. That's a championship quality.
Actually, you're 100% right about that. I've watched Red Sox teams, and particularly in the last 20 years, they'll win a championship, and then the next year they'll be the worst. It's this roller coaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. That there's that intangible thing that you see when a team that is consistently losing and coming back and pulling out wins. I don't know what it means, because it's not. You can't really argue what that means on paper. But there is some kind of a spirit there about the way the players believe in themselves or something like that, that it seems to really pay. That is the quality you're looking for. Absolutely.
That's not in the analytics, right? You can't measure the will to win. How much these guys hate losing, the will to win, no matter what the scenario is, we're just going to keep coming. And it's confidence. And I'm telling you, and that kind of confidence actually strikes fear in the opponents that you're playing. Because we're like, yo, we're up 6-0, 7-0. But dude, they're not done. They're going to keep coming at us.
But it's even stranger than that, because you'll have this same group of Red Sox that this year are coming back in games like that consistently, but then next year it'll be totally different. And it'll be the same bunch of guys, and for whatever reason it's not working out, and that feeling of karma or whatever is going on will be gone, and they'll win 88 games and be bounced out of the playoffs in the first, in the wild card. So, I mean, it's hard to explain. It's one of the strange things about baseball, just that.
It's still a long, long season. And
yeah, absolutely. I don't count the Yankees out ever.
No. Listen, I'm not going to count them out, but I'm not going to exactly count them in. Let's put it that way. I've seen enough to know that this is not a really good team. And there needs to be something changing, and I don't know what that is, but something needs to change, and I don't know if that's going to happen this year. So This might be a shot year, but look, we'll see. I'll tell you this: after the All-Star break, which is coming up in like about 2 weeks, we right away, right after the All-Star break, for Boston at Yankee Stadium. Okay, then we play 2 games against the Phillies. And then we go to Fenway for 4 games. So we're going to play you 8 times in the 2 weeks right after the All-Star break. Yeah. Then if we can kick your ass, then we're going to be like, we're in this. We're in this.
Yeah.
If you guys kick our ass, we are done. White flag.
Because you'll probably kick our ass, but Tampa will still be running away.
No. But listen, but we know, look, that's the thing about the Yankees, Rays, whatever. We know the Red Sox are the team. So if we kick your ass, that will give us the confidence to come back. I hope.
Yeah.
But that's a big if. That's a big if. You guys 6 for 6. I mean, come on.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's why
look,
baseball
you guys are playing really well, and the Red Sox have the Yankees number. Whatever it is, you guys just have our number. Devers, that guy fucking kills me every time.
I remember in 2003 when finally the Red Sox on paper going into the season looked like they might beat the Yankees. That was a legit championship team from run in the late 90s and the early 2000s. The Yankees, those guys had really champion type players, you know.
Yeah.
But they were finally getting older, you know. Clemens and these guys were getting older, and of course they still beat us in Game 7 in Fenway Park in the 10th inning. But I remember somewhere around that, Pedro Martinez was like, "Who's your daddy?" kind of thing. He was basically admitting that the Yankees were the Red Sox daddy. But ever since then, it's like, it seems like, you know, when he said it, it felt like New York had been Boston's daddy for a long time too. But it's really, over the last 20 years, it's kind of really reversed, you know.
Look, it's the 3-0 comeback. I mean,
Yeah.
you come back from, imagine that, the Yankees were up 3 games to none on you.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember it. I was like, ain't no thing. Wow. And the way that you came back is the most incredible comeback in sports history, I would say.
It is, but they were set up for it because they had legitimate, big-time starting rotation, the Red Sox, and the Yankees' starting rotation was old and hurt. The guys were out. I mean, they never should have been up 3-0. It was really a credit to the Yankees that they were up 3-0. You know, the Red Sox should have been ahead in that series all along.
Those series were World Series. When we played you in 2003, It was a World Series type matchup. But anyway, so Chris, I was wondering, is there any other free agents that you know that's out and about that maybe could be a good addition to any team that's out there?
About other free agents that still could help somebody?
Well, I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. You sometimes have some gems. Like I remember last week we were talking about Le'Veon Bell would be a great addition.
All right. I got another guy that I'm pretty familiar with.
Could help somebody.
A team that would be interesting. The now ex-Giant Golden Tate.
Yeah, he's still out there. Yep.
Absolutely. I know.
Might be a good addition to the Tennessee Titans, actually. And I say them because Golden Tate, at this point in his career, should be about getting as close to the playoffs and winning as possible. He's from the state of Tennessee.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
And they can use a player with his skill set that I don't think they have right now.
Just he's a really good slot guy to go with those two monster receivers they have in Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. 2 guys that are just like such physical specimens. And then you got a smaller, shiftier guy like Golden Tate. That is a great weapon.
Who's reliable.
Who
knows how to find openings in defenses and knows how to find those openings. Right. Quarterback will find you, and then he's incredible with runs after catch. So he's not a guy that you need to get the production that he used to have with the Lions in Seattle. You don't need that from him, especially with the guys that you have. But I think he can help that team, especially with knowing how injury-prone Julio Jones has been. Nothing that's been like, I'm going to take you off the field for games. Just that I'm going to nag at you enough that's going to lower your production. And teams are still going to pay attention to him a lot. Golden Tate can find his way open a lot in that offense and have clear lanes to the end zone.
Why is he unsigned right now, Chris?
Ask Brian. You tell me. He was a Giant last year.
Well, no, the thing is, right, and he was pretty much. Listen, I don't know if it was him, if it was the coaching staff, whatever it was, it just didn't work out. And I agree. I've always thought that Golden Tate was a pretty good player, like a real tough, shifty slot kind of guy. So I'm kind of surprised that he didn't really get much of an opportunity to do much. I do remember one thing: he got in a big fight with Jalen Ramsey, and it looked like Jalen Ramsey was kicking his ass. I know that.
Jalen Ramsey's huge in comparison to Golden Tate.
Sorry to say for Golden Tate, but then I know his like girlfriend was like crying about it on Twitter or something. And I'm like, now you're making Jalen Ramsey look like even more of that Seminole swag, like alpha dog over you now. I mean, now he just kicked your ass and you got, it was like, I don't know. It's their business, not mine. Let's put it that way. But there was some family drama, I think, going on.
There's nothing worse than getting your ass kicked and then having to have your girlfriend defend you.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean.
This is soccer drama. That's worthy of soccer drama.
So yeah, I know. Well, actually, it's funny that you bring up soccer because this is just something that I was thinking about. I wonder.
I thought this was a sports podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah.
That's burned.
Oh, those Euro Cup is burning up the TV ratings around here. But but think about a place like where this Euro soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, is nuts. They love it. So tell me the NFL isn't thinking about, they do all these games in London every year. Like, tell me they shouldn't do a game in like Munich, Germany. Or what if they did a game in what about like Italy? How about like Rome? That could be kind of cool too. You're telling me those people wouldn't be like, holy shit, this is awesome. They would love it.
No, you're right. There's parts of Europe that would dig it. It's not an awful idea. So the first place in Europe outside of what you're already doing. If I was choosing for the NFL before even going to London, I never would have went to London because those people don't care. They've grown to care a little bit more, but they really don't care. Germany, however, there's a huge portions of that country who like that game. They like the contact. You see Germans coming over to play college football all the time. Some make it, some don't. But it's a huge country that has a lot more intrigue to the sport. So that should blatantly be the next choice. And you're right about Italy as well. And Spain, they have these off football camps that they try to put on, these little small leagues of American football that they put together. I think Portugal does as well. But Germany is where I would begin. If not there, and you go outside of Europe and go to Australia, you do you do pretty well there.
What do you think about that, Ken?
I think if you're going to go with a European country, that's a great suggestion, Germany, because of the American faces that have been there all this time. So there is at least kind of a connection between, I'm sure there's a lot of Germans have spent time in American bars over there, or bars that cater to the soldiers. So there may already be some exposure. But in general, I don't think football is going to take off in any of these countries. Most Europeans have no interest in it. They don't like Americans anyways. So there's not really a need to want to identify with American sports. It's a complicated sport. It looks odd to them. These guys with helmets and big shoulders, and they're like, it's too hard to learn. And as far as playing it, the same thing. You got some specialized players that come over, especially usually on the offensive line or something like that from Germany. The Patriots have a fullback that's from Germany. But I don't know what the history. Some of these guys might have grown up near bases or something and had some connection to it. But as a general, I don't see much prospects of advancing over there. London makes sense as kind of an English-speaking culture where there's a little bit of, but even that, it's not really taken off there. They just consider it kind of an odd spectacle,
It's just a cash grab, yeah.
I agree with you, Kevin, with the bases, but I disagree that there's lack of interest there. I think there's more interest in Germany to the sport than we think there is. I really do think that could be. It's a really, really, really big country. And it probably doesn't get credit for the population that they have. So that combined with, you're absolutely right, the westernized culture that has been there forever now is still very prevalent in the way they do things. What the need is exposure, and it's television exposure. Why the Euro is going crazy right now with ratings, because this is really one of the first time that a large portion of the West has been exposed to it because of television contracts. It needs to go both ways. You want Europe or any other country to get interested in American football, they have to actually see American football. And they got to see American football not at 3 o'clock in the morning at the time to watch football. So.
Yeah. Germany's one of the richest damn countries, too.
Yes, it is. And it's excellent point. It's also one of the richest countries.
And look, they love competition. They love, true competition. And
Two world wars. Of course they do.
Is there a need there? What sport? Obviously, they have soccer. We have our 4 big sports here. And then we have soccer.
Basketball too.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so they have basketball. They have soccer.
Germany?
Yeah.
That's your question? Is there a second sport in Germany?
Well, is there a need for another sport? So they have, like you said, they have basketball and they have soccer. What else do they have?
Well, but my question now is, what's their number 2 most popular sport? There's always going to be a need for another sport as long as you have the population that support it, because there's going to be a certain amount of population who don't love soccer.
It's far and away tops. But I'd say, I don't know.
No.
Basketball,
maybe what I'm saying. Soccer is far and away tops everywhere but the United States.
Yeah.
But a lot of places have second sports. For example, India, Bangladesh, they'll talk to you all day about cricket more than soccer, but soccer is not necessarily not popular there, but they have other sports that they play.
Right. Yeah. So what about in Germany? Is there anything else? Or
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good
what-
question.
We'll have to go over there.
They're gonna
guess so.
I
I know for this fact, for Poland, one of their biggest sports is volleyball.
Yeah,
Men's volleyball, team volleyball, huge over there. That's that specific country that I found out visiting there and asking around, what else you guys do besides soccer? Like volleyball. I thought that was a good one. Basketball too. They're not weird. I'm just saying they have other sports.
so listen, it looks like there's some basketball on right now, and I think we should check it out and see. So I mean, that's what's on tonight. All this baseball got rained out all over the East Coast. It didn't even rain that much here in Queens, but
Yeah, that much.
anyway, so we should. I don't know. I'm telling you, watch the basketball. Yeah, you definitely should. It's crazy that both ace studs are out though. I mean, you got Trae Young and Giannis both out from injury. What a terrible break for the NBA. But
Wins above replacement.
and we'll see who truly is the most valuable. So it looks like we're about to get kicked off here. But that was pretty good then, boys. So
Great job, guys. Good seeing you.
yeah. Let's
You
do
as
it
well,
again
Kevin.
real soon.
Right on.
All right.
See you guys.